Ebony from the Roseland Public Library again, and now I want to teach you a few misconceptions about sign language and deaf culture in general. So the first misconception, of course, is that ASL is universal, and it's not. ASL stands for American Sign Language, so it's only used in certain parts of the world. In fact, other forms of English has its own sign, like British Sign Language, is its own separate language that is unrelated to American Sign Language. Fun fact, American Sign Language is the most closely related to French Sign Language because that's where sign language originated. The first deaf school was made in France, so that's what American Sign Language is closely tied to. It's not close to British Sign Language. It's not universal. Each and every country usually use its own form of sign language. Another misconception is that ASL is just signed English, and as we've already been over, that's not the case because British people or English people speak English, but their sign language is completely different from the sign language that people use in America. So it's not just signed English, it has its own grammar system, which I would love to go into in another video, but it's completely different from English. The third misconception is that interpreters are there for deaf people, when in reality interpreters are there for both parties. So they're both there for hearing people like me. If I have an interpreter, they are here so I can understand the deaf person and the deaf person can understand me. It's not only for the deaf people, they're not the only ones that are at fault or whatever. We're both just trying to understand one another. The fourth misconception is that all deaf people can lip read. Of course, some deaf people can lip read, but that's not their main form of communication or their main form of learn to know what I'm saying. Most people don't rely on that. The fifth misconception is that deaf people want to hear and they want to have the surgery, they want to have cochlear implants, and while that can be the case for some deaf people, that's not the case for all at all. Deaf culture is a culture that thrives on sign language, it thrives on their history, just like any other culture, just like Black culture, just like Latino culture, just like Irish culture, just like Japanese culture. It has a deep history and they love who they are and they don't want to change that. And the sixth and final misconception would be deaf people can't drive. There's no reason why deaf people shouldn't be able to drive. The only thing that they can't do or the only thing they don't use is their hearing. So some people will argue that makes them better drivers because they don't have to be distracted by outside noise. As long as they're vigilant, just like every driver should be, it's the same concept. So that's a quick video about a few misconceptions of ASL and deaf culture, and I would love to go into more of them a different day. Thank you.